Please help support the channel by visiting our Amazon store, affiliate link below. Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Matt Jarbo. This is 3 Buck Theater, and today is November 14th, 2017, and man, I'm looking at this thumbnail on the screen right now, and I'm hype. I'm a hype for Justice League. But I'm a little bit perturbed as well, because this is the first movie that has been directly impacted by the fact that I will be an upcoming father in just a few weeks. And while this is going to be a norm going forward, I'm not too pleased, because there's something I got to get used to. When it comes to movies, I will fully admit I'm a selfish individual. I like to be there first day, first showing, 7 p.m., best seats in the house. I buy my tickets early. I buy my tickets, like as soon as they drop. I make sure I get the premium seats to have the best possible experience. And I did that with Justice League. Bought my tickets early on, and then my girlfriend tells me, oh, by the way, we're going to be going to a breastfeeding class on the 16th of November. At 6 p.m. or something, and I'm just like, but that's gonna conflict with Justice League. I bought us Justice League tickets, and she's like, ooh, yeah, you're not going, and I'm all like, damn it. It's not her fault. It's not her fault. It's not the movie's fault. My selfishness is just something I have to deal with. But that's my story about that. I actually went to the theater last night and I exchanged the tickets for the 9 p.m. show. Not as good as seats, but it's fine. It's fine. I found out my theater takes Movie Pass, so I'll be going back again to see it. So I'm totally on board with that. But it does allow me the first to get used to the idea of not being able to drop everything and go see a movie whenever the hell I want for at least the next 18 years. I'm gonna have to get used to that. So you might hear me complain about that here a little bit. But that being said, today got some good stuff. I wanted to talk about the Justice League review situation first, especially concerning Rotten Tomatoes, because apparently Rotten Tomatoes will be withholding the score for the movie until the day before release. Now, this has people really talking about what is going to be expected inside the reviews of Justice League. All we have now are just the reactions being predominantly good, predominantly in some cases great. There are people I've seen on Twitter that have already gone and seen it 2 or 3 times, because Warner's is not shying away from early screenings for critics. They want people to see it, and because they're doing so many, they're clearly standing by this. So there are people out there that have already seen the movie a couple times, and this is one of those things where they are clearly, like, you got fans that like it a lot, and they're saying that it gets better the more you watch it. So it says here that Rotten Tomatoes is withholding the score for Justice League until Thursday. That's 1 day before the film hits theaters. However, the film's review embargo is still set for Tuesday at 11:50 p.m. or 11:50 p.m. PST. So that is tonight at in just 8 hours, essentially 9 hours from now. It's 3 p.m. on Tuesday. An individual with the knowledge told The Wrap that Warner Brothers had no influence over the decision, given that the two entities operate separately. Warner Brothers has an ownership stake in Fandango, Rotten Tomatoes' parent company. Now, that's been a big point of contention in all of this. Is Warner Brothers, kind of like influencing the hold off on the score because they don't want it to be bad, and they're afraid it's going to be bad, and they're afraid that it's not going to be good? This is one of those things where I think is an independent move from Rotten Tomatoes, and it makes sense. It makes sense as to why. Over the summer, you had filmmakers like Brett Ratner, who at this point is relatively disgraced, so I don't know how much his opinion matters anymore. Whether or not you believe the allegations levied against him or not, it essentially just means that he is not going to be around. But you got that situation with them and saying like, oh, Rotten Tomatoes is ruining Hollywood. It's ruining movies. And I definitely am a person who dislikes people who treat Rotten Tomatoes as a Bible versus a suggestion, right? Because there are people out there that really just dive in and they're like, I won't see anything that doesn't have a fresh score on Rotten Tomatoes. It's not necessarily indicative of your tastes. It's just, it's an aggregate. That's my complaint with it. So it says that a spokesperson for Rotten Tomatoes told The Wrap that each week the Rotten Tomato team selects a movie or TV show to reveal the tomato meter on a see it or skip it. A new FB Facebook Watch show that airs every Thursday at 12:01 a.m., Wednesday 9:01 p.m. Pacific. Eric Davis, Fandango's managing editor, took to Twitter to corroborate that, writing, "It's being held to debut on the new Facebook show, which airs the same time every week." So they're doing this as a business thing. They're trying to get out there and make, "Hey everyone, we're on Facebook. Come watch whether or not you should see it or skip it with Justice League." And it makes sense when they're trying to expand into that marketplace. That's one of the biggest things when it comes to, let's say, no, how do I want to say? It's one of the, when it comes to Facebook right now, Facebook video is a big thing. Facebook video is being kind of poised in some respects to really heavily go after YouTube, and at least in terms of some content creators making the jump. So I can see why they'd want to hold it off there. I mean, there's a reason why like someone like Randy Rainbow releases his videos on Facebook than he does on YouTube, because on Facebook he gets those shares, he gets those views, and it racks up super quick. And it's a solid business move, believe it or not. You may sit there and go, but I'm watching this on YouTube, why do I care about Facebook? Because more people are on Facebook than YouTube, and that's on a monthly thing too. And just because Rotten Tomatoes score won't show up until Thursday, it doesn't mean fans won't be able to read the reviews once the embargo lifts. So that's another thing that's important to consider. You'll still be able to read the reviews in 9 hours from right now, but you won't be able to get the score. And honest to God, the score, I think, is one of the bigger problems. The reviews are going to give it a fresh or rotten rating. I do expect that we're going to see at least 66% are going to, I think it's going to get a fresh rating. And I think a lot of the reviews are going to say Wonder Woman is the best part. So it also says here that this happened with Bad Moms Christmas 2 weeks ago. Scott Mendelson from Forbes wrote an article in which he stated that the new FB Live show reveals the tomato score on the webcast itself. Bad Moms Christmas was chosen because the embargo lifted essentially 15 hours before the broadcast, and STX had nothing to do with the review delay, the article noted. So that's what's going on with that, essentially, is it's just like they're trying to hold that information and then put it on their live show, which is a solid business tactic. At the same time, I think it's kind of ridiculous. I think it's kind of redundant, because people, are going to get mad about that. I don't know. I just think it's stupid. They're trying to use it as a marketing tactic. Like, oh, do you want to see the score? You got to come watch us on Facebook. That's where we're going to reveal it. It's like, what? That is one of the things I hate about Rotten Tomatoes, I should point out, is the fact that they are so smug in that regard, that they are going to withhold that number, that aggregate, that number, that little arbitrary number that gets used entirely far too egregiously with how people determine the quality of a film, and they're now hiding it until their television show or their Facebook web series in order to get more people to watch. It's a shady tactic. It's kind of crappy, and I really hope that they don't actually continue with that practice. I think it's just stupid. But speaking of something that's not stupid, something I'm generally excited for, Mario Brothers is getting an animated movie from Illumination. I'm actually okay with this. I'm actually really okay with this. I just want to point out by saying the 1990 Super Mario Brothers movie is one of my guilty pleasures. I loved that movie as a child. I hated the fact we never got a sequel. When that cliffhanger hit and Daisy kicked down the door holding a gun saying, "Mario, Luigi, I need your help," and then and then they grab their shit and it cuts to black, I was legitimately excited for a sequel. And then all of a sudden the movie's like, it's horrible, nobody liked it. Whatever, man. Look, it's kind of like Howard the Duck, in my opinion. Everyone loves Howard the Duck, but when it comes to a public discussion about Howard the Duck, they're going to tell you that it's horrible. Right? Like, it's just, no. Mario Brothers, the movie, it's not perfect. It has tons of problems, but I love it, and I will love it till the end of time. And so this is cool by me as well. So it says here, according to the Wall Street Journal, the Mario Brothers movie is currently happening between Nintendo and Universal's Illumination Entertainment, known for such fare as Despicable Me, Minions, The Secret Life of Pets, and Sing. Now, out of those 4 movies, the only good one was Sing. You might be a Despicable Me fan. I feel sorry for you. Those movies, outside of the sequel, were horrendous. The sequel was good because it understood what it was. The Minions movie tried too hard. I haven't seen number 3, but from what I've seen in the trailers with Trey Parker, that was okay. But again, it's still still didn't, I don't think it did as well as it could have done. Whereas Secret Life of Pets was just annoying, mostly because of the voice actors. I thought the plot was okay, but I really hated Jenny Slate in the role, and Kevin Hart as the bad guy was bad, and Louis C.K. was probably masturbating while he was recording his lines. But Sing I really liked. Sing I thought was good. Sing had a great story, lots of heart, good songs and stuff. And so they've been getting progressively better, and I'm okay to see this. The film is in the early stages of development and not likely to be released for a few years, but the agreement has the potential to allow for multiple films and follows an agreement to install Mario Brothers themed attractions at Universal Studio theme parks. Now, that was something we've already known about. That was like announced last year, was that there would be Mario type stuff at Mario rides at Universal. So the fact that they worked a deal with Illumination to produce animated films, I think is a good thing. Now, Mario, out of all of Nintendo's properties, Mario would be the best one you'd want to do as an animated film. Personally, I'd love to see a Legend of Zelda movie done animated. I don't want to see a live action. I want to see an animated Legend of Zelda film. But would Link talk? That's the question everyone's going to be asking. And trust me, if he ever did, oh boy, people would lose their mind over it. It doesn't matter if the movie is Oscar caliber. There are purists out there that would just get mad. And those are the people who get mad legitimately over everything. And so they do go on here talk about the Super Mario Brothers movie from 1993. And it's I love it. So there's really not much else to talk about with this one. It's literally just an announcement, which is fine. I look at this deal and I think to myself, this is a good partnership. Illumination, while I'm not a fan of a lot of their films, I do see why that they are liked. Don't get me wrong. I just don't like them. But the animation is tight. They've been getting progressively better. DreamWorks has been getting progressively worse, so I can understand why you'd want to see them go over to Illumination. And I think Nintendo's been branching out a little bit more in terms of the Mario property, with like Super Mario Run that came out a year ago on mobile devices. You had Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle on the Switch, which was an Ubisoft-produced title using the Mario character and giving them a gun. So I mean, like they've been experimenting, and this I think has the opportunity to do great. And I know we'll have to wait probably till 2020 to see something on it, but I'm excited. And I'm excited for the fact, too, that my daughter, by the time this comes out, will be old enough to at least appreciate seeing it in the theater, whereas her old man will be giddy as my child on Christmas. You know what I mean? So anyway, jumping over into more, and this is just cool news, and I'm happy about this one because I grew up watching this show on Nickelodeon. So once we're going back into the 90s, you got to love that we're getting close to like where 1990 was 30 years ago. So we're coming into that cycle of I guess you could say reboots and retoolings of these particular properties, moving away from the rebooting 80s films and getting into rebooting 90s properties. That's going to be very interesting towards the end of the 2020s. But that being said, Are You Afraid of the Dark is getting a movie. Yeah, man. Yeah. I loved Are You Afraid of the Dark when I was a kid. That was one of those shows that would spook me the hell out. And I would love to watch it with the lights off with my friends. We'd get freaked out over everything. Oh, I love it. It says here, if you were a child of the 90s, now is a magical time to be alive. As I just said, yeah, they're rebooting everything. Hollywood is looking to appeal to a millennial generation that has grown up and now has spending power. To do this, they are tapping into the great potential of nostalgia. For those of a certain age, there is no greater time or age more golden than Nickelodeon in the 90s. And the studios know this. Rocko's Modern Life is making a comeback. And Hey Arnold, as well as Hey Arnold, the Jungle movie, which premieres this month, is coming back. And it looks like Are You Afraid of the Dark movie is getting made as well. So it says here that the tracking board reports that none other than Gary Doberman will handle the scriptwriting duties. He wrote Annabelle Creation. And he also worked on It Chapter 2, or he will be working on It Chapter 2. And this coming from Paramount's new division, Paramount Players, will produce Are You Afraid of the Dark, which does not have a release date or any plot details. So the thing with Gary Doberman being involved is Annabelle Creation was not necessarily a good movie from what I heard. I haven't seen the first Annabelle. Well, we had it at the theater I worked at when it came out. I watched a couple minutes of it. It just looked like crap. However, it did feel like something you would have seen on Are You Afraid of the Dark, right? And if they what they'll probably do, and this is just what I would do if it was me, is the Are You Afraid of the Dark movie. It doesn't necessarily need to be a movie. It can be an anthology series put into a film. And then what you do is you have, like, 3 stories told, maybe all kind of surrounding the same thing, or having all come to a head at the end of the film, or something along those lines, and you treat it like an anthology versus a straight up adaptation, because a lot of those stories, while cool, probably couldn't sustain themselves for 80 to 90 minutes, and that would be very difficult to do. Now, granted, Annabelle and Annabelle Creation probably couldn't sustain themselves for a feature-length horror film, but they did. And of course, that entire Conjuring universe has grossed over $1 billion so far. So essentially, what we're seeing is I mean, I don't know, like anything could happen with this, essentially, right? Anything could happen, and I don't know. I'm hoping for the best. I'm hoping that Paramount looks at this and realizes that it'd be better served probably as more maybe of an anthology, like maybe 2 parts, each story 45 minutes, coming to a head that way. And I think that would be more of an appropriate way to tackle the project. Now, you guys might disagree with me. You might think that doing a full 90-minute version of one of those stories could be done. And you know what? You're probably right. But let me ask you this, though. How did you like the Tales from the Crypt movies? Did you think that, Demon Knight and, what was it, the Bound by Blood, or Tales from the Crypt, Blood something, or not, I don't know, it was Angie Everhart was hot as hell in that movie. But those, Bordello of Blood, that's what it was, Bordello of Blood. How did you think those fared as horror films that were taken from, Tales from the Crypt? Do you think that same format could work here? So now that I think about it a little bit more, it's entirely possible that they could. I did enjoy very much both Demon Knight and Bordello of Blood. They were both corny and campy in their own right, and they worked for me when they came out, especially Demon Knight. Demon Knight was way more horrifying than Bound by Blood, or than Bordello of Blood. But then again, you have Dennis Miller in a movie about vampire, hookers and stuff. So, I mean, the 90s were just a glorious time. So I do want to know your guys' thoughts about that one. But finally, this is interesting here too. So MoviePass has had a bit of an interesting ride recently. It was announced that MoviePass was going to be dropping their price from $50 a month to $10 a month, where over 3 million people signed up for new memberships. I myself signed up for a new membership, and I'm now trying to find the time to go to the theater that I have. I'm having so issue with that. And it's it's a thing, because they've also got a little bit of trouble, because they did change their terms of service recently to say that if you use MoviePass too often, they do kind of reserve the right to change how many times you're allowed to use it. So this once a day thing isn't going to fly for everybody. But then again, they were banking on people not using it more than once or twice a month. So it's essentially they're trying to curb the abuse of it, but it's going to backfire on them from negative PR, because people aren't going to want to do that. Anyway, it says here that they may be launching a streaming service. Yeah, that's a bad move. I'm just going to come out right off the bat and say that is a bad move. Now, granted, the guy who was the creator of MoviePass was one of the co-founders of Netflix, so you can understand why, in essence, they might be going this way. Even though I don't think he's involved anymore, you can still see why they would go this way. No, not going to work out here. So it says here, it says the comment made on CNBC caused the stock of the parent company to surge 20%. I think that's a false surge. I think that's a false thing from these companies, these investors. They're looking at the hype surrounding MoviePass right now. They're looking at the influx, like the massive influx of millions of people signing up, and they're looking at all that, and they're realizing that this could be a good idea. No. It says here that the owner of MoviePass, which sells a month's worth of movie tickets for the price of one, saw its shares surge 20% on Monday after CEO Mitch Lowe hinted that the company might also get into streaming media. Saying here, it may be at some point we launch a streaming service, Lowe said on Monday on CNBC during a conversation about Netflix, Roku, and Disney's upcoming subscription digital product. Lowe was a co-founding executive at Netflix, becoming CEO of MoviePass. Okay, so he still works there. Sorry, I thought he had left. Majority owned by Helios and Matheson Analytics. MoviePass gives subscribers a ticket to movie theater every day for $9.95 a month. The service is controversial given that AMC Entertainment objects on the grounds that it devalues the movie-going experience, which I find that to just be interesting. Because if you think about it for a second, movie theaters are getting hurt left and right. I know my local theater just raised their prices again. So an evening ticket is now like $11, which is about expected for this kind of stuff, which is why I go in the daytime or go on Tuesdays when it's cheap. But the movie-going experience has been devalued for years. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that the movies just aren't very good. They follow very simple formulaic exposition. They star the same people over and over and over and over and over again. And we oftentimes don't get to see new and inventive films come to the forefront because studios are afraid that people won't go see them. Well, part of it has to do with the fact that people don't go see them, actually. I got into a conversation with someone the other night trying to say that Hollywood doesn't ever work on original content. There's over 50,000 feature films made every year worldwide. Over 50,000. There's original stuff being made all the time. There's just so much content out there. It's hard to see what you're going to see. It's hard to see it all, and so a lot of stuff just kind of falls through the cracks. That is kind of one of the reasons why MoviePass is a good idea. Theaters should embrace this, in my opinion, and start bringing in smaller pictures that could then be used as a springboard for new careers and new voices, and maybe, I don't know, make movie theaters great again. Because nowadays I can sit at home and watch Netflix in, HDR on my 4K TV and get, an experience that's more comparable than going to theaters. So I can see why them doing a streaming service would probably be an idea. But ultimately, again, going up against Netflix and then going up against Disney, especially if those Disney Fox talks aren't dead, that's gonna, man, they're gonna need 32 million people a month to become profitable. And they're even saying that they're going to lower the price than Netflix originally in order to get people in the door. So it's this is not the time to want to take on those giants. I understand though that Mitch Lowe here, he coming from a person who co-founded Netflix, has that idea in his mind. He's probably trying to think of it from the best possible angle, but I don't know. So that being said, it's just a talk. And that talk is what launched up, the stock to go up that high just based on that comment, right? Which means that they're going to explore it further. But my honest opinion, it's never going to happen. They're never actually going to release a streaming service. Redbox tried it, failed. Warner Brothers tried it, failed. CBS is trying with CBS All Access, finding moderate success with Star Trek Discovery, but a lot of that is also to do with the fact that Netflix is co-financing Star Trek Discovery, and outside of the United States is where you find Star Trek Discovery. It's not on CBS All Access in Germany. It's on Netflix. So it's one of those things where you're just like, no, there's a lot that's going to have to go into this. Now I could see the streaming service working maybe with television networks and putting together a package like that. Actually, here's what I'd recommend for that as a whole. Sports packages. Right now, sports packages are quite frankly the only thing keeping cable television alive. People want to watch their sports, right? And we're noticing that this year alone that the NFL has had dramatic viewership decreases, right? Because people aren't watching. People have been cutting the cord. They can't get the game. And so if they were able to offer those as part of a streaming package, which they have the technology to do, and outside of the United States, oftentimes you will find you can stream any NFL game on NFL.com outside of the United States, right? So they know that outside of the U.S., there's a big market for it. But inside the U.S., because of money and property rights and distribution deals and things like that, they don't do it. They very much restrict it all, which is just drives people at that point to then move on to find an alternative. That could be MoviePass's alternative, which again might go against the core concept of MoviePass, saying that it's MoviePass and they're getting into sports streaming. But that, in my opinion, is pretty much going to be the future of streaming, unless you are in fact Netflix or Amazon or Hulu or maybe Disney. People aren't going to want to spend money for multiple services. They're going to pick at max 3, sometimes 4, depending on if the price is right. So again, they're kind of really going into an uphill battle unless they come at it from an angle of which no one expected. That being said, if they start talking about doing sports, I wouldn't be surprised if all of a sudden Netflix chimes in and goes like, hey, by the way, we're doing Netflix sports now. You want to stream your game? Is this going to be an extra $5 a month? And bam, right there, Netflix just dominates everything. Again, don't know, all speculation, all theory, anything could happen, and I'm definitely going to be keeping you guys informed when it does. But that being said, that wraps up this episode of $3 Theater for the 14th of November, 2017. If you guys have any comments, leave them below. I like to read them. If you guys haven't already, thumbs up the video, subscribe to the channel, check back multiple times a week for these episodes. I try to do them, Monday through Friday if possible, and then I go from there. And I will talk to you guys later. Have yourself a fantastic day, and peace out.